Hello everyone and welcome to the Siege Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, comment your Siege related questions and topics, and there's a chance I will cover them in the next video. Even if you've already commented them before and I haven't covered them, drop a comment. It's not that I'm ignoring them, there is just so many to go through, and there's a chance I'll miss them. So drop your comments and your topics right now before we get into this video for the next one. Hit that sub button if you haven't already, since we're trying to hit 200k, and let's get into this video. So this first one here is by Medical Man, and they give their idea of a buff for Thorn. Now, if you don't know, Thorn is the worst performing trap operator in Rainbow Six Siege. Ubisoft actually acknowledged this over a year ago, saying that Thorn is the worst performing trap operator, and then in that same patch note, they buffed her weapon instead of her gadget, and then she got an elite skin, then lost the 1.5 times scope. Thorn has had no changes since she released, and is still pretty bad. Her gadget takes too long to detonate, and if you want to use it as an intel gadget, Legion does it 10 times better. The only thing she's really used for is displacement, but honestly isn't that great at that either. So Medical Man's idea for a Thorn buff would be that they explode instantly but do 50% less damage, but then in turn to counteract that, she gets 4 Razorblooms. And I definitely think the Razorblooms do need looking at. Like I was saying, the issue isn't her weapon or anything, she doesn't need an ACOG. We need to start looking at the issue with her gadget, and it's the fact that it's just so easy to clear, easy to react to, and like I was saying, in the other roles such as intel and stuff like that, a proxy alarm does it better, or a goo mine especially, because I think personally Legion, I think he's way at the top. I think Legion was overtuned. I don't think he needed that massive buff that he got, and I think especially now he definitely pushes operators like Thorn away. Now, looking at what Medical Man said, that's pretty much just a Kapkan trap. If it explodes instantly and does 50% less damage than it currently does, because it does one-shot kill you right now, then that's pretty much just a mobile Kapkan. And so I guess what makes Thorn unique is the fact that her gadget will one-shot kill you, but that's also where I think some of the issue comes from, because the detonation is just so long, and especially with the fact that they are so easy to clear. It just doesn't really put her in a great position in my opinion. So we could go down this route of maybe making the detonation faster, but to compensate for that, making the damage less. But I do think it is quite cool having her be the trap gadget, which is a one-shot kill, in the sense of, yeah, if you walk through 2 Kapkans or sometimes 3, it will one-shot kill you, but that's because you're stacking gadgets. Of course, goo mines won't instantly kill you. Claymores on the attacking side will instantly kill you, so it does keep Thorn in her own little niche on defense, especially in the explosive trap category. So we could honestly keep the current system of the detonation time and the explosion damage. However, I say that when we detonate a Thorn trap, so when it goes from its standard state to then the detonation state where you get the notification on the screen, it changes color and it's about to explode, I say it goes into a bulletproof property during that state. Just the same way floor reses Rotero drones work. When you're piloting them and when they're moving around, they can be shot, but then when you go into the detonation state, they go into a bulletproof mode. I think the exact same thing should happen to Thorn's Razorblooms. So in that sense, that means that if you are droning ahead, if you're bringing a Twitch, a Zero, or EMPs, or even a Brava to clear these Razorblooms, you are getting that benefit of planning ahead, droning ahead, and knowing that that Razorbloom is there. A lot of the time, if you walk into a Razorbloom you didn't even know was there, you can just shoot it and destroy it with ease. However, this new system would punish people for not droning ahead and finding out where the Razorblooms are. It would reward the Thorn players for placing their Razorblooms in smart locations. The very few times I even play Thorn, I like to place her Razorblooms on bomb chassis and default plant spots, because that means if we're in the collapsing final moments of a round and someone goes for a plant to the default plant spot, that Razorbloom is about to detonate. Now, in the current state, they can still just shoot it and then go for the plant. However, if we're going with this method of when it's detonating, it goes into a bulletproof state, that means that attacker is completely displaced, they can't plant there anymore, and that Razorbloom has done its job, and the attacker has been punished for not droning ahead and finding where those Razorblooms are and potentially clearing them with Brava, Twitch, for example. I just feel like Thorn is just in an underpowered state, and the full extent of her gadget hasn't been unveiled yet, and the only time she ever got proper use was when they gave her a 1.5 times scope on her gun. But as I've always said, if an operator is useless without an 1.5 times scope, or nowadays ACOG, then that operator was never good to begin with. This next one is by Flintster, and they say IQ should have impact EMPs. She'd be a lot more useful on exterior walls that can't be easily dropped dethroned and when Thatcher is banned, since she can easily find where an electric claw is placed. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think IQ with EMP nades would be really fun. However, this will never happen, and let me explain why. So back in the day, before grenades were nerfed, IQ used to have them. This would lead to a lot of situations where IQ would be below. She would scan someone with her scanner who's on their phone, or like an Echo, for example, and just nade them from below and get the free kill. Ubisoft didn't like this. They saw that as too much of a one-man army, so they removed nades from IQ. Now, since you can no longer nade from below with grenades, IQ has them back, and a lot of operators have their grenades back, because in their eyes, it's not as much as a one-man army as it used to be. Now, if they were to give IQ the impact EMP nades, as much as I would like to see it for fun, and as much as I'd enjoy it, that will never happen. Because, just like the case with her having the old grenades, it's too much of a one-man army. If she can ping the gadget and then clear it herself, they would see that as too strong. If you want to do that, you have to bring IQ and another operator and a teammate who has EMP nades to then get that job done. This has been a balancing mindset Ubisoft have had for a little while now. That's the reason why Maverick lost his grenades, because you could just Maverick the wall at the top, make a hole, throw a grenade in, and clear the utility on the wall. Bada bing, bada boom. You've completely cleared that wall of any denial just by yourself, as well as them being able to breach the wall with your blowtorch. Ubisoft took a look at this and said, hey, we're not necessarily against the ability of Maverick being able to make a hole and then a grenade being thrown into it, but it has to be someone else's grenade. You're not allowed to do this by yourself. If you want to do this, you have to bring another teammate on an operator who has grenades. And this will be the exact same case with IQ and EMP nades, and why they'll never add it. They are not against the fact that IQ can ping a gadget and then that gadget can go on to get EMP'd, whether that's from Thatcher or whether that's from an impact EMP nade. But it's very clear that they don't want IQ to be able to do that by herself. They want you to have to bring another teammate with another operator who has EMP nades to then do that for you. I don't think that's necessarily a bad balancing factor in a team game. However, I just think sometimes they actively go against this mindset. I'm going to bring up the example of Legion, for example, because I just genuinely don't understand why they buffed Legion so much. Like, they were nerfing like Maverick because they don't want one-man armies, and then they buffed Legion like crazy, so he is then an intel operator if someone steps in the trap. He is also a trap operator because it does damage to people who steps in the trap. He can also open up rotates and everything with his pocket shotgun, and he actually did have the impact nades for a while as well on top of that. And Legion's also a plant denial operator, which a lot of people forget, because if you place a goo mine on a default plant spot and they step in it, they have to pull out the goo mine before they can plant a diffuser. If there's 5 seconds left on the clock, the game prioritizes pulling out the goo mine. They won't be able to plant. So I'm definitely not against the balancing mindset of making you bring multiple operators to do these certain strats, but if they're going to actively balance against their own mythology, then honestly, I don't see the issue with giving IQ EMP nades, and I think it would be very fun. It's not going to play into a negative mindset. It still plays into a playstyle which is very gadget and intel heavy, and if anything, we should be forcing more people to play like that in this game. I would love to see it personally. This next one by Gex asks, in your opinion, who do you think was the most broken operator on release? Now, I wonder if this one really has a debate to it. I joined in Operation Blood Orchid, so when I started playing this game, the operators which came in that season were Ela, Ying, and Legion. Yes, we got 3 operators in one season. That's because Operation Health caused the Polish season to be completely cancelled, and the only things we got from that were Zofia and Ela, who were then spread across the next 2 seasons, Blood Orchid and White Noise. And I don't know if you guys played back then, but Ella's Scorpion was easily the best gun in the game. That thing had no recoil. It had that insane fire rate. You were shred everyone with Ella's Scorpion, and it was overpowered. It was very strong. I would like to see it kind of get closer to that state than it currently is. I think Ella's a painfully boring operator these days. But yeah, that was overpowered. That was very strong. That was insane, but you still kind of needed to rely on your gun skills as well to at least hit the shots. So although it was a crutch weapon and all that, it was overpowered. I think without a doubt, the most broken operator on release had to be Lion. Like, is there any debate that Lion genuinely broke this game? If you didn't play back in Operation Chimera when Lion launched, then you missed out. This is an operator which Ubisoft would go on to say was a mistake. That's how strong he was. So basically, Lion didn't work the way he currently did. When Lion went for a scan and you moved, it would show up the entire outline of the defending operator who moved. So it was basically like constant wall hacks. None of that occasional ping sweeping we have now, that if someone moves during a Lion scan, yeah, we'll ping them, but if they move around, it'll be an occasional ping every few seconds and it won't last very long. But old Shield Lion, if they moved, it would be your exact moving position visibly through a wall constantly until that scan ended. So you can imagine when they're going for a site collapse or a roam clear or anything, you having your exact wall hack movements being shown to the entire enemy team was a bit of a strong thing. He by all means broke the game and they had to do something about him, which honestly, I will say, I'm very impressed as someone who played in Operation Chimera and played this original version of Lion. I am very impressed that they managed to actually balance him and keep him useful, because they could have easily just nerfed him to the ground and made him a useless operator and been like, yo, we made a mistake, forget that guy. No, Lion's actually a very useful operator. I find myself playing Lion all the time and really enjoy him, and I don't think he's oppressively overpowered. So yeah, without a doubt, Lion was the most broken operator on his release, and that was because they made him based on the Outbreak mode, which would then become Rainbow Six Extraction. That's what he was designed around, which was their biggest mistake. They designed two operators, Lion and Finka, around a limited time PvE mode rather than the constant PvP mode that they were going to be staying in for the rest of time. So they were just too strong. They were made for the wrong mode, and I'm very glad that they have been balanced since. But yeah, Lion, most broken. And this next one is by Izzy, and they say, what are your thoughts on the leaning mechanic, and if you had to change one thing about it, what would it be? Now, I think the leaning mechanic fits Siege very well. If you've played any of the older Rainbow Six games, they actually are present in that as well. I'll show some clips from me playing Raven Shield, and you can lean left and right in that game, so it's very in Rainbow Six fashion to have leaning. As well as this, I think Rainbow Six Siege does the leaning mechanics better than any other game does. I've played a lot of games which have tried leaning, and it feels very jank. I know old Siege leaning was a bit jank as well, but nowadays I think it's very good. And it's hard to think of a version of Siege without leaning mechanics. It would be a much worse game without it, in my opinion. It definitely makes up a lot of what makes the gunplay enjoyable. I know the question says if I could change anything about it, what would it be? But I think it's perfect. Like, genuinely, over the years, they have refined it so well, and you can't really like lean spam to make your hitbox or your head change anymore. It feels very nice, it feels very fluid, and genuinely just try and imagine right now a version of Rainbow Six Siege which doesn't have leaning in it. It would definitely not benefit the game. Yeah, it just is something so integral to the gameplay of Siege and previous Rainbow Six installments that I think it's amazing, and I'm so glad that they did go for it, because around the time when Siege released, a lot of games weren't going for leaning, especially these multiplayer PvP games. You know, Call of Duty, leaning's never really been an integral thing. I believe, you know, some do have leaning, but you have to be on surfaces. They don't do it the same way Siege does. And this final one is by French Two Eyes, and they ask, do you think Ubisoft will ever try anything like Extraction again? And honestly, I don't think so. If you mean like another Rainbow Six game, yeah, they'll definitely try another Rainbow Six game. It's too big of an IP for them just to sit on Siege. Will it be Aliens? Probably not. I think Extraction was fun for what it's worth. I got all the way through Extraction. I pretty much 100% completed it and done all the side stuff as well. And when the game actually got progressively harder and there was like bigger hordes and there was a lot more stuff going on, it was actually really fun. And I was really excited because someone made a roadmap, which everyone believes to be real, and I think it was fake, but that supposedly leaked, and it was saying that there was like a wave-based mode coming, sort of like COD Zombies, and I was like, oh, you know, that's actually going to be really sick. I enjoy this game when the enemies are hard. One of my biggest gripes with Extraction was it was kind of too easy throughout the whole game. So when there was actually the times when there was modes where the enemies were hard, like wall to wall, the fact that there was going to be more, well, claim to be, shall I say, a wave-based mode and harder modes coming, I was very excited, and I thought Extraction would probably then get a bit more footing and finally take off. That wasn't the case. Ubisoft gave up on it instantly after it launched, and other than that, you know, it's kind of been left to die. So I don't think they'll take a risk like that again. I think if they want to make like another Rainbow Six game, then like, I don't know, remake the original Rainbow Six. It's a very simple game for people to understand. It's very fun. It's very unique. You don't have to change much about it. Just make a modern remake of that game for modern platforms and just allow people to experience what the old Rainbow Six game is like, because it's a very fun game. I've been playing through it recently. I enjoy it, and that's a really nice way to not only put out new products in the Rainbow Six franchise, which are safe, but also, you know, loyal to the franchise, because it's a remake remake of the original. You don't have to go down an Alien route. It will probably sell well. So I think they should just focus on maybe remaking some of the older games, faithfully, may I add, and maybe looking into making some new Rainbow Six games as well. But definitely nothing along the lines of Extraction. So yeah, be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Drop your comments for the next ones and your topic questions. Have an incredible rest of your day. I shall catch you all in the next video. I love you all. Stay safe. Peace.